Welcome to The Podcaster. Each week, in just 15 minutes, we explore a different project shaping the future of Farcaster. You can listen to our episodes on Spotify and YouTube. This podcast is brought to you by Collider Ventures.
Hello, everyone. We are here today with Jonny from Hypersub. Thank you so much, Jonny, for joining us. I really appreciate your time. And we'd love to start with a short introduction of what's your background.
Thanks so much for having me. Yeah, so short intro, my background is as a product designer. I worked as a freelancer and then ended up getting into tech and worked at HP on WebOS. And then I spent a number of years at Google. I co-founded the Google Domains team, and then I got into crypto, worked for a bunch of early stage crypto startups, then Coinbase, and then founded Fabric.
Very cool. And we'd love for you to go over the product. Like, we'd love for you to explain what's the problem you're trying to solve.
Yeah. So the problem is recurring revenue on chain. So there are a number of different ways to do it. I don't think any of them are very easy. And so that was sort of the impetus behind creating Hypersub. I think Hypersub is the easiest way. And it supports lots of different use cases. So yeah, that's in a nutshell kind of what it does and what we continue to make it better and easier at doing.
Would you say that most of the creators that are listed today on Hypersub are using Hypersub because they want distribution, or is it mostly because they want the infrastructure, like the subscriptions infrastructure that Hypersub offers?
It's a good question, and I think the answer is actually both. I think that if you look at STP, which is the subscription token protocol that we created to power Hypersub, that is financial infrastructure for earning recurring revenue on chain. But if you look at Hypersub, the product, it's that and distribution for creative work to subscribers, as well as communication. So the nice thing about Hypersub is that you have this kind of means by which to communicate directly with your subscribers, as well as distribute creative work to them. So whether that happens on protocol like XMTP or Discord or Telegram or Warpcast or whatever, because the membership credential and subscription time are on chain, you can now interact, with the people that are paying you. And so Hypersub kind of facilitates some of that, as well as if you're doing media, if you're doing podcasts, music, writing, visual art, what have you. If you're publishing your media on chain, then Hypersub makes it super easy to distribute that work to the people who are paying you.
And I wonder, let's say that I'm a creator, and I can choose between Web2 subscription platform, or I can check Hypersub and go with the on-chain solution. What's in it for them? Like, why do you think that a creator will want to use Hypersub and not like a traditional Web2 subscription platform? Maybe not today, but maybe in the future. Like, just what are your thoughts on what's the edge for creators in using crypto?
Yeah, it's a really good question. This is something that we are kind of banging our heads against the wall now on. And I think we have good answers, but we still need to come up with better answers to this question. I think that this is a broad question. I think the specific version of this question is why Hypersub. I think the general version of this question is why on chain. And there's a few answers. I think the first is you make more money. There's a number of people who've created podcasts in the last 6 months, and they've made thousands and thousands of dollars on Hypersub. They're also publishing their work on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, etc., and they've made $0. So I think that it's a powerful sort of vector for patronage that exists today that is less common to see on Patreon. The other important thing, and I think this is, different sorts of creators value this differently, which is that because the membership credential and subscription data are public, it can be read by many different systems. So a non-technical way of explaining that is that you're not locked in. So if you create a subscription membership on Patreon, you're more or less trapped inside of Patreon. The same is true for Substack and all the others. That is not at all the case with Hypersub. Again, because the credentials is public and the subscription data is public, your community, your membership can be diffused across the internet. And that was one of the insights that we had from one of the first products that we built, which is that no single product, platform, or protocol can contain an authentic community, that real communities are actually diffused across the internet. And so what I see happening is many of these platforms are kind of working against the natural flow or natural order. And Hypersub works with them. It says, look, we're not trying to trap you. We don't want to have Hypersub consume all of your time and attention or that of your member base. Be free, go and create, have your chat on Discord and Slack and Telegram and whatever other system you want, and publish your creative work wherever you want to put it, exist in all of the places that you want to be. And, the financial relationship, that direct economic relationship between creator and consumer will go with you. It'll be preserved. To me, this is the way that the internet should have always worked. And so now it does. It's small, but the thesis is that it will grow. Going back to my kind of the first part of this answer, I think that there's a lot of sort of frontier people, who hear this and they're like, hell yeah, sign me up. This sounds amazing. I think there's also a lot of people who that just doesn't make any sense. They're like, what? I don't know what that means. And I don't know why I would want that. And so I think that our job now is to not just talk about it, but to kind of walk, to demonstrate why this is important, why it's valuable, and to create what I call these light bulb moments, which is like this moment that goes off in the mind of the creator when they're like, oh, I get it now. This is amazing. I've seen that happen with a lot of folks, in the past 10 months we've been building this product. And that's what, inspires me to keep building it, because my thesis is that light bulb will go off in the minds of more people the more we continue to, build and grow and sell.
Yeah, that makes sense. And we'd love for you to also go over the background of Fabric. So you started the company a few years ago, and at first you were not building the current product. I wonder, what did you use to build before, and also how did you come up with the idea of building Hypersub?
Yeah, so the first product we built was kind of a community management product. It was really sort of conceived and executed in the wake of the kind of explosion of DAOs. The thesis that informed it, and that I think has really informed everything we've built, including Hypersub, is that what the internet wants is three things. People want to organize with others who share their goals. They want to pool their resources, their time and money, and then they want to share in the upside that comes from that. So whether that is crowdfunding something, an event, and sharing in the proceeds, whether it's a meme coin, whether it's a work of art, whatever it is, that's ultimately what people want. And at the time, 2 years ago, when we started the company, we thought, well, DAOs are the form factor. That certainly seemed to be the case, given all the capital and energy that was happening in that space. That died pretty much immediately as the crypto bull subsided and the crypto winter, the crypto bear, started to happen, to emerge. And so we started thinking, okay, DAOs are kind of dead. What are people really trying to do here? And that's where we landed on. They want to collaborate with people who share their values. They want to pool capital and resources, time and money, and they want to share in the upside. What's the easiest way to do that? Well, it would be crowdfunding. It's like put money into a contract. Essentially, you create shares, in the contract, such that any additional capital that's put back into it can be withdrawn on a pro rata basis. So that's what we created. We created a protocol. that was another big shift between kind of our V1 like alpha product and, CrowdFi was, the way that we should orient and build is we should be building smart contracts, like otherwise what are we doing here? So, and like the unit, the canonical unit is a transaction. That's what any company that's working in crypto, I think, needs to be oriented in that way. Otherwise, you're just building Web 2 software that's, I think, has the ball and chain of crypto attached to it. So you're like playing the game. I think anyone working in crypto is kind of playing the game on hard mode, but then you're playing it in even harder mode. So anyway, that's what we built. It was a simple contract, a simple crowdfunding contract wherein, you could create a campaign that's on chain. You could raise money. And when you put money in, you get an equivalent amount of ERC20 tokens back. Those tokens act as a pro rata claim on any future funds that flow back into that contract. So we built and audited the protocol, and then we built a great little client for it. A lot of people liked it, used it, but ultimately, there's a lot of headwinds to crowdfunding. And I think we lost conviction that was the right form factor. So we didn't shut it down. We just kind of started asking our questions, what are we going to do next? Because this isn't it. This isn't going to be the thing that helps us really get big and scale. And so we started thinking, okay, well, what's happening right now in this bear market? Like, what are people continuing to do on chain? Well, they're trading. I'm like, well, we don't really want to do that, play that game. We don't really want to do DeFi or an exchange or anything. What else is happening? Well, people are minting NFTs. Okay. Well, that's a form factor that really makes sense for people. What are they doing with these NFTs? Well, not much. You mint them and then they kind of just sit there. And so we're like, well, wouldn't it be cool if it could act as a kind of access pass? So we started thinking about this idea of adding a kind of temporal dimension to NFTs, so that they were like memberships or subscriptions. And the benefit of this is that it aligned with the level of effort that creators were putting in. So it's like continual payments for continual work, which seemed like a better mapping compared to what currently existed at the time, which was discrete payments for continual work. That's misaligned. It means you're getting paid once for work that you're doing on an ongoing basis. And so we're got really excited about that, built STP1, the protocol, and then Hypersub, launched it. And basically it took us, for the first 4 months, we thought we completely blew it again because it didn't click at all. No one could figure out. Everyone was just like, what? This doesn't make any sense to me. But little by little, creators, writers, musicians, people, it did start to click, and I told everybody that would listen to me, look, this is really powerful primitive. You can get money on an ongoing basis. You could do this on chain natively. And so, yeah, in the past 7 months is really when we started to see a lot of just the light bulb going off and a lot of people using it for lots of different use cases and earning. So yeah, we just crossed the $1 million mark in creator earnings, which I'm really proud of. And then it took us a week or two, we're to do another 20,000 in creator earnings. So it's still small, relative to something like DeFi, but it's small but mighty. It's enough to keep us inspired and to keep us building. So that's the path that we're on.
And I wonder, now that you mentioned that you crossed like $1 million in creator revenues, I wonder who's using at the moment Hypersub. Is it mostly people running podcasts, or is it more like Farcaster related content? Like me personally, for example, I'm subscribing to Boy, the search explorer, and I'm doing it through Hypersub. But I don't know, like if most of the revenue is coming through this sort of applications, or is more like individual creators running their activities on Hypersub.
I'd say the revenue is pretty evenly distributed. I mean, the nice thing about it being a protocol is that it's all public. So you can, if we have a Dune dashboard, it's linked in the footer of hypersub.xyz. So you can go and slice and dice the data. But there's a number of categories. I'd say 7 or 8 categories. So there's art subscriptions. So there's a lot of designers, illustrators, painters, fine artists that are publishing visual art on chain and dropping it to subscribers on a monthly basis. That's a pretty common use case. People do membership clubs, so group chats, IRL events, online events, basically community organizing. We have writers, musicians, podcasters that are all using it to monetize their work, app developers as well. And then we have this kind of emerging category of Farcaster channels, which is again more it's their memberships, but they're much more specific, because they're kind of working in the constraints of Farcaster. So yeah, the nice thing is that it and this is by design. I mean, the protocol is a generalized primitive. It's essentially an NFT with an on-chain timer. So what's happening is you're minting time, and so that time is then used to grant access and give perks and benefits. So because it's tokenized time, it can be used for lots and lots of different things.
Yeah, I think for me personally, I think that token gating or like NFT gating channels is like an extremely interesting use case.
Yeah.
Like what happened like in the memes channel, that now I remember that some time ago you posted that you were even like onboarding a few people to help you run the channel. So like channels at the end of the day like can become businesses in which like they can accrue revenue, and they can bring people on board to help the moderate or run the channel. And I think that's amazing because like in Reddit, like you have like these huge communities. Some of them have like millions of members, and they could definitely be like profitable businesses. But of course, you cannot have that because you don't have like the finance rails to have that. But in Farcaster, that's completely different, and I think that Hypersub is the infrastructure that powers that.
Yep, I agree. I think Dan at FarCon said something along the lines of like any subreddit with more than 1 million users or 10 million users, something like that, or more than 1 million users could be a 10 million ARR business, something along those lines. And that really inspired me. And I completely agree. And I think that that's we want to be one of the puzzle pieces that to kind of make that picture. And I think that we're getting there. I mean, they just announced some new changes to channels this morning, or that they're kind of open sourcing their thinking at least, and it's exciting because it's a step forward, I think, in that direction.
Very cool. Jonny, we are reaching the end of the episode, but would love for you to share some alpha about what's coming up on Hypersub.
Yeah, so the next thing on our list is we're going to improve drops. We're going to add a category for access. We're going to create a subscriber dashboard, so you kind of have a homepage that unifies all of the drops and access across all the things you're subscribed to. We're probably going to add an embedded wallet solution here as well, so you can come to the site, create an account with an email address, subscribe with a credit card, and magically you're on chain. So these are all the things I think you can think them and in minutes, and you can design them in a few hours, and they take months to build. So this is the unfortunate time cycles that we're on. But yeah, that's probably the next 6 months of our roadmap, I'd say. And then selling, just onboarding as many creators as we possibly can, and trying to help them be successful. I think that's like the number one most important thing for us.
Awesome. Jonny, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. I encourage everyone to go to Hypersub, subscribe to any creator that you see over there, and just try out the platform. I think it's amazing what you're building. And yeah, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks so much. I really appreciate it.